Hello, and welcome to Retrotainment Recast, show we bring you every 2 weeks. Well, there's been a few where it's been one every week, but that was just because there were special episodes. In general, it's one every 2 weeks, and it's where we pit two of us against each other, one judging, winner staying on. Our current champion is Carl Sherlock, so he got to stay on, and
Yeah.
I was the most recent loser, so I have become the judge, and Greg has gone into the challenger seat here. This week, we are given a film that I'm a huge fan of. Well, I picked the film, obviously, and I'm a big fan of it. So I picked The Crow, something that I know Greg is a fan of. And I didn't realize that Carl hadn't seen. So this is his first time seeing it. So before we get into the picks, what did you think, Carl?
Not a fan. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I know
really?
you're, and I know I don't want to piss off the judge, but um, I watched it there last night, and I have to say I didn't enjoy it. I thought it was overacted. I didn't really enjoy anything about it. I'm not gonna lie.
Really? Yeah, see, there could be. Me and Greg did discuss this, and I was like, I love this film. But obviously, I have a lot of love for a lot of films that other people wouldn't like. Obviously, Batman and Robin being one of them. But this one, I love unironically. Like, I actually think this is really good. But there might be a bit of a like. I got this, I think, when I was 13 or 14 is when I first
Okay,
bought it. So all these
nostalgia.
MCUs and stuff haven't been out. So I watched it then. It's dark, it's grimy, it's kind of dirty. And I was like, this is so good. And like that was when I first watched it. So I always still have that in my head. So that's possibly like a nostalgia factor that has me remembering it.
This is what you get when you're the Batman on Wish.
Not even because it's very different
I
from
would
Batman
rather
as well.
watch Batman and Robin.
Really.
Yeah.
And I know how much I hate that. Now I love Batman and Robin. I would definitely rather watch this. I'm a big fan of this. Like I would watch this. I used to watch this religiously, like kind of once a month sort of thing, minimum. I'd fire this DVD on if I couldn't think of something else. I'd fire this on. This and Space Jam on rerun basically for me. And not when I was like a kid, because obviously you wouldn't be showing this to a kid. But like for years,
Yeah.
I was just
He was doing this last year.
No, not. There's too many other films now for me to be doing it then. But when I was like 15 or 16, yeah, like I was firing the two of them on left, right, and center. Just what do I want to watch? I watched The Crow last night. Space Jam it is, so lashed it on. Yeah, no, I'm surprised that surprised you didn't like it at all. But unfortunately, that's not going to matter because you're still going to have to recast it.
Yes, I am.
So obviously, there's going to be 7 characters. The lads are going to recast, and they'll be able to argue their points a bit. And winner gets the point. If it ends as a draw, winner stays on, or it's champion's advantage if it ends as a draw, and that's who'll go through. Other than that, it's
This
just
is
whoever has
the
the most points
least
goes through.
confident. This is the least confident I've ever been going into one of these.
Oh Jesus!
Yeah.
Well, sometimes you've gone in very confident and you've lost.
Well,
so
let's be fair, my very first attempt at Hook was an extremely confident one, and it did not go well.
yeah,
Well,
it all depends. It does all depend, and some of it does depend on if you're able to argue it. But obviously, this is like Retrotainment Recast, so follow us on our new YouTube channel. We're on Anchor as well now, so if you don't want to sit here and watch us talking about it, you can listen to us on the train, the bus, whatever you're doing while you're just wandering around the house. So just give us a like, a share, a follow, all of that good stuff, and we'll get into it now. So if the two boys send in their picks so that I can verify if there's any matching ones, I'll be surprised if there's any matches here. Yeah, I have them, lads. Be surprised if there's any matches now this time, because this is unlike a lot of films. These are all a lot of these are quite minor roles, and a lot of the actors didn't go on to do a whole lot from it. Obviously, unfortunately, one of them didn't. But
that's what I was trying to do when I was picking. I wasn't picking lead actors.
Yeah,
for all these roles,
which is the tough bit. But I thought this would be interesting because a lot of the films have had, like the last one, obviously Ocean's 11.
Load of lead actors, yeah.
Big lead actors all fired into it. So we'll start, obviously. Champion always gets to go first. So we will start with one of the smaller ones. We'll go with Tintin here.
Tintin, the first to go. The first to go.
The first to go. That's actually what we're going to do here. Is I'm just going to go through the first to go because
originally played by Lawrence Mason. I went with Daveed Diggs for this role. I'll give you a moment to look that up. He was one of the main actors in Hamilton. He's starting to make his name in other stuff now as well. He's done a couple minor roles in movies, starting to get bigger progressions. He's also done stuff in like
the first picture I see
animated stuff as well.
He's dressed up as Prince.
Yeah. He's a good looking bloke, but you know, he can act. You know, he was one of the lead actors in Hamilton.
Okay, I haven't seen Hamilton. Unfortunately, that's a bit of a
I went risky here with a lot of my picks.
It's a musical, so it's not a huge thing. I have seen Snowpiercer though, and he was in that. But he's not. I don't remember him. I don't really remember Snowpiercer all that much, so this could be a risky one. So
yeah, I think a lot of my picks are going to be kind of like that. It's I kind of just went with who I wasn't really kind of thinking about. Trying to convince you. I was just trying to think of actual, people who I think that would do it very well. And that could probably coming back to bite me in the ass.
It could. Now he does a lot of voice work, is one of the things.
He does.
So that could.
He's in Ferdinand. He done the voice in Ferdinand.
Yeah, he does loads of voice work. Yeah, he's in loads of stuff. Well, go ahead, Greg. Who do you have?
The one thing I will say is all the talks that's around The Crown now is that it's the big money film that's coming out or set to come out. There's a big money remake.
Always in developmental hell.
No, yeah, but we know that. But like the rumor is, once it gets going, it's going to be a big one. So I didn't go small the whole way through.
Yeah, I think if it was being made now, I think there's a lot less. I think films now do kind of try to get as many big names as they can. But I suppose that's not always the case, and you can't, if you don't have a big budget, you do go. That's how smaller actors become big as they get into the films. So
yeah, well, I went with Donald Glover here.
Oh,
I think he fits that role perfectly. And let's be fair, looking at him, you'd be like, yeah, you'd like to see you get all sorts of fucked up in some film.
Yeah.
See,
I like Donald Glover,
if you're going for big name actors, all my argument could really be is this is such a small role for Donald Glover.
It's a small role for anyone, but that's
Donald Glover going into a role like this, I think he's past that.
If you've seen the list of people that was due to actually be in the one that Jason Momoa was starring in, weren't small at all.
True, but that wasn't made for a reason.
Well, look, that got as far as pre-production before it shut down.
Donald Glover, I don't know. I think this might just be because of what I've watched Donald Glover in. But like what I remember Donald Glover mostly from is Community. And you haven't watched Community, so that doesn't really tie into this.
No, not at all.
I suppose he's in Spider-Man Homecoming, isn't he?
He is, yeah.
He's not the bad guy in that though, really, either. I'm not overly sold on Donald Glover, but the thing is that I don't know David. I don't know. I genuinely can't judge what David is like as an actor because I don't know him anything. So I'll go with Donald Glover. I kind of went similar to Greg, and I did go someone big. Now this person is probably too big for the role as well, but I thought Michael B. Jordan would be the one that had fit into that role very well. As the baddie, we know that he can play a bad guy very well.
He doesn't play a bad guy very well. He plays the bad guy fucking superbly.
Yeah, so I was kind of like, he could work here, but
though he's if you're casting him, you're casting him as the main villain.
Yeah, they're all big. They're all kind of big names, which is kind of one of the tricks here. Finding smaller named actors is going to be tough, but. I'll go with Donald Glover here just because I don't know enough about David. I can't give him that, but
I'm a quarter of the way there.
That's not to say that I'll only be going with the big name actors either. Yeah. So we'll go with Greg second, and we'll go with the second boy killed, which is obviously Fun Boy
Michael Massey.
Yeah, so banging away on Darla. Skank is so funny when he says that. Actually, just before we go into that, do you know who that actor that plays Skank is?
I have the name written down as Angel David, but
no, he's like one of the big guys in I think it's Law and Order or something like that.
I don't watch that.
Right, okay.
I think like that's mainly what he's known for now. This is like such a small part role that like it's just so funny that he went from being this, little junkie speedball, like this junkie speedball, and now he's like all he does is like, I'm a big fucking big cop and all.
94.
Yeah, but I mean, Law and Order is probably about that old as well. Like that's been around bloody donkey's years. That's what I was saying. It's so weird. But yeah, that doesn't matter. It's we're on Fun Boy anyway.
I went with one that we'd all know from something different. He has moved into the acting world. I went with Edge.
Okay, Adam Copeland.
Yeah. His new cop show, he plays that kind of role to an extent. No, he's a cop in it, but I think he's turned into a half decent actor.
He's not bad. He was in Vikings as well. And
that's his main thing, isn't it?
It was another show as well, kind of super powered type show. That was his first thing before he moved into Vikings. I can't think of the name of it.
I didn't know he was in Vikings, actually. I didn't watch it.
Yeah. I went here someone who's a little bit older, but I think he suits the role an awful lot, and the age doesn't really matter in this role. I went with Jason Mewes.
Jay from Jay and Silent Bob.
Yeah. I think he suits this role absolutely perfectly.
Yeah. I think this one's actually quite easy for me. Jason Mewes is definitely the correct answer here. And honestly, I think even if I didn't have Edge written down because I didn't think of Edge at all, but even if I had Edge written down, I'd have been like, no.
Yeah, it got my pick. Yeah.
Jay is correct. The only thing that I would see, Edge was always going to be a really tough sell because this character is just a little fucking drug addict, and Edge is a big unit. A drug addict like who's like a proper heroin addict, and that's all they do all day. You can't be that big and be that as addicted to heroin as Fun Boy was.
He's kind of a henchman, but sure. No, I like Jay Mewes there.
Yeah, no, Jay Mewes is a very good one.
I probably would have. I'm quite happy to concede that one.
Yeah, no, that's definitely.
When that one came to me, I was just like, yeah, that has to win.
If you've cast Kevin Smith somewhere else, I'd imagine.
I haven't.
That would be good. Who I had here was I don't know if you boys. Well, I think you have both watched it, but I had Eamon Farron, who is from The Witcher. He's the main sort of bad guy in the first one, and then in the season one. I don't know if you've watched season 2, but he is in season 2 as well.
The wife has watched it all, but I tried to watch it, but I left it after episode 2.
I don't know if he would have been in episode. I can't remember what episode he comes into in that. He's kind of like the main bad guy. He's got this kind of smarmy look to him, and he's skinny but like intimidating in that sense. So I was like, he could work in this role. I thought he'd do quite well in this role, but I think
I know him from Winchester.
Yeah, he would be in. Yeah, he'd be in.
Ferocious.
Yeah, but like as an actor, he's quite good.
Oh, he's good. Yeah, the film was terrible.
Yeah, the film's terrible, but like he's quite good. That's who I had, but I think even with that, I think Jay still works perfectly for that because
I don't know how I didn't think about it because I only watched. Do you remember Seth Rogen, Zack and Miri Make a Porno?
Yeah,
and he's in that, and I'm looking at him going, yeah.
I wonder now, Carl, was that in any way influenced by when we were doing Die Hard, and I was thinking he could be the cocaine addict in that.
Oh no, not at all. I just saw him and I was just thinking, who has played a really convincing drug addict on screen?
Yeah,
I mean, he's not technically a drug addict because you can't get addicted to weed.
No, well, you can.
But then
that's bullshit.
I did think, I was just like, hang on, this guy has been addicted to this shit in real life.
Yeah, no, it is.
There we go.
Yeah, no, that it does work very well. So yeah, no, that's an easy one to go
that's
with.
A hell of a show. I can see that. As soon as I heard it, I was like, that's the end of it.
So that levels it up.
Cool.
We'll go with the next man to die, which is T-Bird. Now, this is the second biggest name in this film, I would argue.
Okay, it's not the way I cast it, but
David Thomas
Um,
Kelly.
Yeah, I would think he's the second biggest name.
he's never been. It's because we know him. He's never really been a big name. Let's be honest.
No, but didn't I don't think any
Yeah.
of the rest of them were really big names at the time. Like,
Albrecht. Was
Albrecht is
Well,
the biggest. Albrecht
yeah.
is the biggest name, obviously. But then
Brandon Lee was obviously
Brandon Lee was on his way to becoming something. Top Dollar has had a few. Your man who played Top Dollar had a few.
He plays the same character in every single thing.
Yeah, but he did have a few.
He done a lot. I think he done a lot with Robert Rodriguez and things.
Yeah, Michael Wincott. He does have quite a few films behind him. But I would say that T-Bird was like the guy who played T-Bird, like Thomas's.
David Thomas Kelly.
Yeah, David Thomas Kelly. He's the second most recognizable.
He's a fucking arsehole.
Well, this does work because I did choose a guy that in every film he's an asshole, except one. Even though he's kind of it's a comedy film and he's still kind of playing a dick in it. Billy Magnussen. I'll let you look that one up, but he just had. I think Billy Magnussen is a really good show for this. Hopefully you've seen him in something.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I've seen him in stuff before. Yeah,
you just know him. Like he always starts off as looking like the good guy, and then no, wait, he's the dick. He's the villain.
Yeah.
I think he'd be great for this. I really do. I think he'd be perfect for this role.
I'm going through this list here, and there is very little that I've seen.
I've seen Game.
I don't have to pick it.
Game Night. He's quite good in that.
He is. Yeah.
That's the one with Will Ferrell, isn't it? The casino one.
No. Jason Bateman.
Game Night is.
That's what I meant. The casino in the basement.
Yes. No.
Do they have a Game Night?
Game Night is game. That's something different. Game Night is when him and Rachel McAdams are a couple and they invite their friends over for.
Oh yeah, but is there not? There's something in the basement, is there not?
I think there is a Will Ferrell film there's a casino in the basement.
Yeah, okay. I do know. I have seen Game Night though as well.
Yeah,
like I do.
Game Night's hilarious.
It's very funny. It's different to what this role involves, but yeah, it is very funny.
He was in Aladdin as well. The new Aladdin.
He was.
Yeah, well.
He was the other prince in Aladdin.
Yeah.
For about 8 seconds.
They're actually doing a spin-off on for some reason. Yeah, they're doing a spin-off on that prince.
Just because it's him, I think.
I don't know why.
Because it's him. I think that's it. It's literally because it's him.
He was also in the new James Bond film.
I haven't seen the new. He was in what was that TV series? Boardwalk Empire. He was in that as well.
Oh right, okay. But yeah, no, he plays a really convincing dickhead. So
he does. He's very good at being the dickhead.
Yeah.
Now, I have gone for a dickhead who is a TV actor, movie actor, and he plays a dickhead in every single fucking thing. He was a dickhead in Bad Boys when he was in it. He was a dickhead in Waterworld when he was in it. And he was a dickhead in Sons of Anarchy when he was in it. I went for Kim Coates.
Well, I thought you were going to go with my favourite, T.O. Rossi there.
No.
I thought
Kim, is it?
Yeah, Kim Coates.
Yeah.
He played Trig in Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah. I think the only problem with Kim Coates is his age.
Then again, he's a junkie. There's nothing to say the age in this.
Well, T-Bird isn't particularly a junkie. T-Bird's kind of the leader. He's not actually a junkie.
He's not exactly clean.
I think Kim Coates might be a better choice for Top Dollar.
Yeah, I think.
And for T-Bird.
See, Top Dollar's quite young as well, but I
think...
but
he's the leader. Getting a 63-year-old for a henchman.
I don't know, he doesn't look 63, that's the thing.
No, he doesn't, but
if you think about it, he was a henchman in Sons of Anarchy up until 2018 or 2017. You know what I mean? He plays that role very well. And like if you think back to him, and I know Waterworld was not a great movie, but like he plays a fucking psychotic arsehole in that too.
Yeah. I do think his age,
who intently tries to have sex with a 12-year-old.
Yeah. I went with someone who was also a bad guy in nearly everything I think I've ever seen him in. Maybe you have seen him in something else where he's not. He is a little bit older as well. Not as old as Kim Coates though. Walton Goggins.
Walton Goggins, I like Walton.
He's a baddie in himself, isn't he?
He is.
So
he looks very like Greg's favorite.
Patton.
What's his name? He's in Armageddon and he's in
Will Patton.
Will Patton, yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Walton Goggins. They look a bit alike.
Not too much alike.
Does not look like Will Patton.
No, it does. No, it doesn't.
All right, fair enough. In my mind, I always get those two mixed up. You take that
point off him now.
I don't know if I can. See, one of my issues is that David Patrick Kelly is, I think he's only a couple of years older than Kim Coates. I think there's only like I think there's less than 10 years between them. So
yeah.
I do think they're both very good choices. I think Carl probably has hit the nail on the head there that I think Kim Coates might have been a better top dollar than he would T-Bird. So I'll go with Billy Magnussen as T-Bird. I think they are both very good choices though, because they both are baddies. I think if you'd gone Theo Rossi, Greg, you'd have had me sold there, because he's a couple of years younger as well, and he's always the baddie and stuff. He'd have been very good for this role, to be honest. I didn't think of him myself.
Kind of a good guy in Sons of Anarchy, to be fair to him.
No one in Sons of Anarchy is really a good guy. Basically, in most stuff you see him, he's kind of a little scuzzball anyway, Theo. He would have been very good. I didn't even think to put him into it, but he would have been very good for the role. So we're 2-1 to Carl. So we're back to Greg, and we'll go with the last of the henchmen to die, and it's Skank.
Yeah.
Angel David originally.
Struggled here.
This is one that was quite tough, because as I said, he's gone on to do, like, he has his own fame and stuff, but it's quite a small role, and the guy that did it he was unknown at the time, really.
Yeah, and he's still very unknown.
I don't think he is. I think he's known in the senses that he needs to be known in, sort of thing.
Yeah, I struggled. I just threw John Boyega in. I couldn't find anybody. I tried to change it over a little bit, obviously, because Skank is white and John Boyega is definitely not white. I just tried to change it. I struggled. This is the one I struggled the most with. I thought I hit nailed on with a couple of the other ones.
I don't like John Boyega as the choice. I'll say that. But
I went with someone who would play a very good henchman. Again, this was one that kind of was difficult to cast. But I went with someone who, again, he's building his name up and he's moving away from what he's usually known as, and he's doing more serious things. I went with Bobby Cannavale.
I don't know who that is.
Again, I wasn't trying to choose the leading man or someone who's hugely well known, but once you see Bobby Cannavale, you actually know him. He did a lot with Adam Sandler.
Yeah, I do know who he is, yeah.
Yeah.
And he's been doing things recently. He was in The Irishman, he was in Thunder Force, he was in the Jumanji film and Nine Perfect Strangers. He's starting to move his way out. He's actually the father the stepfather in Ant-Man.
Yeah.
So he does these bit part roles, but he looks like he could be in this type of role.
Don't like that casting either.
No, I'm not mad on that. I went with I had two here. So Charlie Heaton, who would have been from Stranger Things. He's the older brother of
oh, right, yeah.
He's the kind of weird older brother.
Let me check.
You'd know him to see, he's the kind of the second male lead. He was in New Mutants as well. If that helps you anyway, that guy.
We don't talk about that movie.
No, but it's at least you can identify from that which one of them I'm talking about. So I had him, and this is one again that you probably don't know, Joey Beatty, who is mainly known for The Witcher. He's the one who sings the songs and stuff. I
know him.
I don't know if he's even got that far, but
I did not.
I was kind of thinking more age-wise there. I was like someone who's not too big, like Charlie Heaton, even though he is in Stranger Things, still not a huge name. In the sense that I think he could get away with this. This role is probably the hardest one to cast. I don't like either of your choices.
Pick mine.
And I didn't think I didn't think Greg was going to be able to sell me at all on John Boyega.
He's way too big for you. You were saying it's a difficult
I
role
am.
to cast because it's such a small role. It's probably the most insignificant of the four. So
Possibly
to
is.
get as big a name as John Boyega in there is,
Yeah,
you know,
the problem with Bobby Cannavale is he's the same age as the original actor.
If age got me the first time,
Yeah, and I have used that against Greg. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to go John Boyega. I don't like John Boyega. I think he's. I think. Well, no, sorry. I do like John Boyega. I just don't like him for this role because he is, one, as an actor, he's too big, and two, as a physical unit, he's too big.
Yeah, I didn't like it either. As it says,
this is kind of what I was thinking when I had like Charlie Heaton and Joey Beatty. They're little, like, they're not big, like big units. They're kind of like, Charlie Heaton's quite tall, but I think you could get away with that. Like, he's kind of meant to be a little speedball junkie, so I was like, you could probably get away with that. But yeah, 2-2. I'm really not happy with that. With either of those choices, but
I think I'm going to lose this here. No, I think I'm going to lose this here.
we'll go on to the last of the baddies, and we'll go with Top Dollar.
Top Dollar, Michael Wincott.
Yes.
So I was going to recast it as if today. So it is the big villain. So he's the only one of the villains that I went with the big name for.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, he's the big bad.
It was someone that, you know, the way they act in that film was doing a little bit of overacting. You know, I put some thought into this and just like, it's a weird, really weird role, you know, having sex with his sister and all that type of stuff. I went with Nick Cage.
Oh, you don't need your phone for that one. Nick Cage. Nick Cage is a decent show.
It doesn't really, as we were saying, it doesn't matter about his age really.
Yeah.
In this role, because he's the head of the gang, so it can really be, you know, he has to be older than the other guys, kind of. Yeah. But, you know, I think Nick Cage would nail this.
Yeah, this is one where I don't think age is going to play too much of a factor because Michael Wincott was quite young when he played this as well. Like, they did have the main bad guy be quite young, but because he's meant to be the head of this entire crime syndicate, you know, being a couple of years older isn't going to be that big an issue. Now, I will say there was always this weird sort of sexual vibe between him and his sister, but I don't think there was a. I don't think there was. I think there was a weird, like, it's a stepsister as well. I think they do mention that, but I don't think there was any sexual, like, there's definitely a sexual vibe between them, but I don't think
it really felt like it.
They for all the other things that they do, you know, heavily, you know, basically show you like that all the other things that they're basically like, yep, that happened, 100% that happened. Like, it's not even hinted at. This is the one thing that they are kind of like,
this is very much heavily hinted at.
It's hinted, but we're definitely not going to say it happened. But there's other things that normally are just kind of hinted at, and this film doesn't just hint it. It full on goes and lets you know that it happened. But Nick Cage is a good shout. Who have you got, Greg?
I went young, trying to keep it in line with what it was, because obviously he rises up. I went with Adam Driver.
That's not a bad shout either. He's not that young.
No, I know he's not that young.
Yeah.
Like,
compared to Nick Cage.
Nick Cage is 58 or 59 now.
Yeah.
Top, like, your man Michael Wincott's only 63 or something.
He is, yeah. But as I said, with this one,
the age doesn't really matter. But when you're going that close in age to the actor is now, and this movie was made 20 odd years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I kind of argued my way around the reasoning for that.
No, you definitely did. This one won't come down to a choice of age. Adam Driver is actually a very good shout.
Adam Driver's a great actor. Don't get me wrong. As a kind of as much as you love the film, they were overacting in this film. I think you might be able to appreciate that a little. And the king of overacting is Nick Cage.
I'm going to stop that point right there, right? If you're talking about overacting, watch Adam Driver in The Dead Don't Die.
Yeah, but that's meant to be...
No, I know, but you wanted this description of overacting.
Yeah, but it's The Dead Don't Die. It's meant to be that way. Nick Cage overacts in a lot of his films where, you know, it's not necessarily...
And technically, Nick Cage isn't an actor anymore. He stated in an interview.
Yeah, he's a legend.
That's true.
He's a thespian, so therefore he's technically retired.
Yeah.
I've been screwed over on a retired actor before, so
I don't think he's really retired. He'd come back at the. He'd come back like a bloody shot.
He's definitely doing a WWE retirement here.
Yeah, this is a pro wrestler's retirement. There's about 80 more left in them. This is kind of a weird one for me to say because, like, I suppose kind of his biggest role is he is kind of the bad guy. Adam Driver, his kind of biggest role is he is a bad guy,
and he's a very fucking good one at that. And I didn't really like the new Star Wars to an extent.
I think he's okay in the new Star Wars. I think that he's actually not a great bad guy in the new Star Wars. I think it relied heavily on the fact that they were like, let's have him kill a beloved character.
Maybe that's what it was.
I think people disliked him because he killed Han Solo. I don't know that I think he was great as kind of the in between. You know, I am a bad guy, but like I'm not really like I'm trying to follow in my dad's footsteps.
I could dive into talking about the new trilogy.
No, but
we'll be here for 2 hours.
No, but what I'm saying is that even in that new trilogy where he's kind of meant to be the bad guy, the feeling you kind of get is he's trying really hard to rebel against his parents and be the bad guy, but internally that's just not who he is.
Yeah,
like I never really bought into him being the bad guy in that sense. And Top Dollar is a real sick dude. And I don't know that I can buy Adam Driver being that.
Oh, yeah, 100% can see him doing that.
I can see. I think he fits the role, but I don't know if I do think Nick Cage would suit this role a little bit better. And as I said, I don't consider age for this one because it is the head of a crime syndicate. And I think they actually went a bit young with who they cast in the original, to be honest. I think they
him and the sister are supposed to be in and around the same age, aren't they?
We'll get Marissa Tomei in there. I mean,
he only wants to do them kind of scenes with women. We'll just put that out there.
Well, that's fine. But no, I do think, I don't know. I don't know if I buy Adam Driver as being the bad guy that's ordering people to go out and do the things that the boys did in this film. So
I 100% can't.
I can't because I don't, even in Star Wars, I didn't see him as that way. So I will go with Nick Cage here. And I think Nick Cage would take this role. I think he'd love this sort of role as well.
100%.
Yeah, I think he'd be all over this like a shot. I think if they offered him...
If he had a sister, he'd probably bring her in as the sister.
Yeah.
They'd just have Angelina Jolie come in as a sister and he'd just do that. That's how that'd go. Like, so I will go with that. We'll obviously keep that puts it 3-2 into your favor, Carl.
Yeah, I think that may be it for me.
And we'll see. We'll keep the main man until the end, and we'll go with even though he's the biggest name in it, we'll go with Albrecht here. We'll keep obviously the crowd to the end. Ernie Hudson, who was the biggest name in this at the time, definitely, probably still is.
But Brandon Lee's still well revered. I know he obviously can't make new movies.
Yeah, no, he is, but I think Ernie Hudson is still the biggest name. Yeah, I think Brandon Lee might have gone on to become maybe not a bigger name, but a big name. But obviously that's always going to be left open. Yeah,
he has the name.
Yeah. So off you go, Greg. Who have you got as your Albrecht?
Biggest name in the film. Went for a big name again.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah, that's a good shout. It's a solid shout there.
I mean, like if you go for one of the biggest names, you came off the back of Ghostbusters 2 coming into this, you know what I mean? You put a name that's going to bring people in. You put Will Smith's name on anything, brings people in.
True. The only thing I'll say with Will Smith is he usually kind of goes for the lead role. And
I don't know, Suicide Squad he didn't.
That's a very rare rarity though. He's usually the main man.
It's kind of split apart in the new Bad Boys and things.
You know, and he's just coming off doing King Richard and yada. You know, he's kind of the main focus, and for him to be taking second lead in this, I don't know, that's I chose someone who is comfortable doing a second lead. He's roughly around the age Ernie Hudson was when the film came out, and he's still a big name as well. Although he's not overshadowing anybody else, even though kind of like the same level that Ernie Hudson was at. I went with Cuba Gooding Jr.
Where do I know that?
You know Cuba Gooding.
I do.
Maguire coming to America.
Boys in the Hood. He's Boys in the Hood, isn't he? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I do know who we're talking about. Yeah. Well, Coming to America is probably one of his bigger ones. I don't know why Boys in the Hood is the one that I recognize.
Boys in the Hood is definitely his best movie. Actually, Men of Honor might be. Men of Honor was very.
American Gangster might be.
He did win a Best Supporting Actor Oscar for Jerry Maguire.
American Gangster might be his one of his better ones as well.
He's a great actor.
No, he is. Yeah, very
he really
good
is a great actor.
Yeah, no, he is.
Like Ernie Hudson wasn't one of the biggest names, so I kind of went for that as well. Not choosing one of the biggest names, but still a very reputable actor.
Is Cuba Gooding Jr. not on the bold list as well? That no one will cast him anymore?
I don't know. Speaking of the bowl list, before I want to bring it back for top dollar, I almost put James Franco in there because he looks an awful lot like him. No.
Oh, James Franco, he's a bold boy now.
There is something about him. He's on the bold list. That Hollywood won't cast him anymore.
I haven't heard that at all now.
I literally, when I googled his name just to bring up some of the other movies, the first thing that popped up was why Hollywood won't cast Cuba Gooding Jr. anymore.
Well, I'm not too worried about that. I will say that I had one name down here for this, and this is what's going to clinch it, is the fact that I had Will Smith down here for this.
Okay.
I was thinking, and I did think to say along the same lines as you, Carl, that he normally does go for the lead role, but I think he'd realize now that in this sort of film, he's maybe a little bit too old to play the lead role of this, a young couple getting married. He'd probably realize, I'm probably not the young couple getting married anymore. I'll be the good guy police officer.
Unless the movies are now wrote for Will Smith to be the main role, it's going to start falling into...
Which they usually are.
No, I know. But
they still are to an extent.
Go for that aren't written for him, and he's
even in Suicide Squad, he was the lead.
Yeah, there was a lot.
The story was framed around him.
There was, a lot of it was around him. Gemini Man is obviously, I think that's, Bad Boys would be the most recent, but like Gemini Man as well.
King Richard. King Richard was the most recent, and he's going to win the Oscar for that.
Yeah, but that's a very different.
He's going to win the Oscar for it.
Yeah, it's a very different role, though. It's obviously focused around him because that's the way that story is. Whereas other ones they could have probably used somebody else. I went with Will Smith because I do think he'd work very well as this role. He's a big enough name that I think he'd be a good selling point. So that brings us into the last pick of The Crow, which is going to be a tough one because this is somebody who is potentially a very big name, but obviously we'll never know how big they could have been. So it's back to you, Carl, and it's
I went really, really left field on this one, and I don't think it's going to win it, but I couldn't think of anyone for this role for Brandon Lee. So I kind of just went, feck it.
I didn't
pick God, you better not have picked Zendaya.
But I did change Eric to Erica.
Okay, so we've got female. Okay, interesting.
It still works. It could be a lesbian couple, and they're getting married, and
we don't judge on this show.
It coincidentally is someone of that sexual orientation. I went with Kirsten Stewart.
She's a lesbian.
She is.
Is she? I didn't genuinely
didn't know that. I went with her. I think she has the right look for it, and if they're rebooting this type of movie, very likely today they could reboot it as a female lead.
I don't see it myself, surely because I know it comes from a graphic novel, and it's all about him avenging her for being raped and killed. It's not even about him. I know it's easy to say.
Yeah. Again, it could be her avenging her.
Yeah. No, that's what I mean. But I just don't see her doing, I know she done Snow White, but that wasn't very good.
The first one wasn't
I
too
actually
bad.
thought
She wasn't in the second.
I haven't
She
seen
wasn't in the second one.
I didn't see the second one. I actually thought the first one was okay. The Snow White and the
Yeah,
Huntsman.
I enjoyed the
that was
first one.
I actually thought that was quite good. I think she gets a lot of hate, and
she gets a lot of hate from Twilight.
I don't mind her in things.
Yeah,
her and Orpats.
Yeah, I think
are actually really good actors.
I think she got a lot of hate from Twilight, but I thought she was quite a good actress. Like, I haven't seen a whole lot of her since.
I've seen her in a couple things, and
although the Huntsman is what I've seen her in, and I was like, she's not bad in this.
She was terrible in Charlie's Angels, but that was just the script was awful.
Yeah, I didn't see that, but I thought she was quite good in Snow White and the Huntsman, and I think a lot of bad stigma followed her and Pattinson from Twilight, which wasn't particularly fair. They took on a role that people didn't like the films, but I don't think
exactly got a lot of hate.
But I don't think either of them were particularly bad in the films either, though. I think they both played their roles quite well.
I mean, the films...
and I can see her doing this role very well. I mean, it's all empowering women and all that type of stuff. So I mean, her kicking everybody's ass, you could see them doing that today's day.
I could, I could see that. Who have you got, Greg?
Now we have a laugh here. So you said she's a lesbian. I went with her ex-partner in Robert Pattinson.
Oh.
I had 3 names on this list, and literally, remember I said to you just before I came on, I just had to scribble out a couple.
Yeah, this was one of them, was it?
I had Jason Momoa, who's too big.
Definitely too big.
And then I had Sebastian Stan, who might have fit it. And I had Robert Pattinson. He could play that mopey musician, but he has a bit of build to him, obviously playing Batman and whatnot now. You could picture him doing this potentially better than Brandon Lee did. And I'm not a great fan of Robert Pattinson either.
I actually am a huge fan of Pattinson.
I'm
a big fan of his. Even Tenet, which I didn't really think was a great film. I thought he was probably
the best thing in Tenet.
Probably the best thing in it. I think he's
in what?
Tenet.
Oh, the one with John David Washington.
Yeah, the one that's like overly complicated for the being overly complicated. That's why it's overly complicated.
I do like Robert Pattinson. I do like him a lot.
I'm a big fan of his.
My only argument because let's face it, it's really if they're both good choices. My argument there would be he's already doing a superhero franchise.
But this isn't a superhero.
It kind of is. It's a comic book franchise.
I mean,
that's a big argument. I'm going with that as a big argument.
He's obviously playing Batman, but this comic isn't linked to anything.
It's not, but he's still involved in another franchise.
I mean that
argument has been used. I'm using that. We have used that argument before in previous.
Yeah, but that's what it was. That
was when it was Marvel versus DC, and we managed to fuck it up and use the wrong people anyway.
This is a fucking freestanding comic, basically, or a graphic novel. I'm not sure which one it is.
They were graphic novels back in the day. I've gone with someone who I think would fit this role. Now, the only issue with the person I said was they're possibly not physically imposing enough for it. But I suppose they could bulk up. Alex Wolff.
I don't know who that is.
He is in the Jumanji films. He's in Pig as well.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But he's the kind of nerdy one in the Jumanji films. If that helps. Very good actor. Quite young. Has that look of the kind of mopey thing. He does play like guitar, and I don't know if he plays guitar, but he is in a band and stuff. So he is a musician. So that works that ties into that role. So I think he would have.
Well, if we're using that, Kirsten Stewart has done a role in which she's a musician. I think she played Joan Jett.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying, but I'm not saying he was. I'm not saying he played a role as a musician. I'm not saying he played a role as a musician. I think he actually is a singer and a musician. So I think it would have worked quite well. And even looks wise now, as I said, physically, body wise, he might not be the one. But Brandon Lee wasn't big. Maybe for the day he was considered quite a big guy, but considered to what we have
Today,
now.
no.
Today, no. Now, Pig was one of the big selling points for Alex Wolff as well for me. I thought he was very good in that.
I never watched it.
It's good.
It.
No, it is good, but he's again, it's Nick Cage as well, so you know, it's a different Nick Cage as well, though.
Yeah,
in a sense.
Is this the violent one everyone was talking about, isn't it?
Yes. No. I don't know if people were. I don't know how many people were talking about it. It kind of flew under the radar a little bit.
It did a bit, yeah.
Well, a lot of the forums were saying it's an extremely violent movie, is it? No, might be something else I was reading.
I think you might be thinking of something else. No, this is a tough one. I'll put this to Carl first and see what his response is, and I'll go with that. What happens to the girlfriend is obviously, like, you know, it's a massive thing, and they rape her and then they kill him. If you're going with two female leads, right, why don't they do the same to her?
Because she came in and kind of she wasn't in the apartment straight off. So she opens the door and she sees this is happening, so they go and attack her right off and fuck her out the window.
But that's not what happens. They
make him watch, and then
they make him watch and then beat him for a little bit. So
she's the more attractive one. But she's the more attractive one. So I mean, they could also edit it slightly, and they could do the same to her.
Because that's the thing. They feel that's one of the reasons he comes back.
I know, but I mean,
but also he uses the pet, like, to eventually beat Top Dollar. Not to give the spoiler on a film from 1996, but he used. I think
94. I thought
there's two different release dates on it, 94 and 96. I originally always thought it was 94, and then I looked it up and it said 96, but I think it is 94. I don't know.
I think the American release was 94. It might be 96 over here.
Possibly.
It definitely didn't come out straight away over here because of the rape scene.
Yeah. But he uses that pain and suffering that she went through to finally.
I wouldn't say they did it to her, and they only went after her, and she, that's.
Yeah, that's probably the hardest selling point here for me, is that, if these guys are the sort of lads that are, going in and, they were told go in and wreck the shop and, make sure that they don't make any more complaints. And then they took it upon themselves to be like, there's a woman here, let's just, sexually assault her. Now, if there's two, why aren't they going to do it to the other? That's
maybe
the hard selling point.
The other one was just Kirsten Stewart's putting up too much of a fight for that to happen.
No, because
she's not worth the effort because the other one is already there.
Maybe. I think that's probably the hardest selling point for me on it. And I did say, you did ask me before, do I think a woman would work for this role? And I do think a woman could work, but that's the hard sell point for me, is I don't know that you have to change the plot line quite a bit to fit a woman in.
Valid point, or very, very.
Well, you don't really have to change. I mean, there's no difference really. It's the exact same thing could happen.
It could, but I think if you think about the lines that these boys are thinking along,
they're gonna rape the two of them.
They probably would just rape both of them. Unfortunately, is what you'd have to assume would happen in that situation. So that's kind of a hard sell point for me. And I wish one of you had picked a really bad choice so that I could make this a lot easier, because I think I'm a big fan of Rob Pattinson, so I think he'd do the role very, very well. But I do think if you could get around that plot point, I do think Kristen Stewart would do this quite well as well. It's a tough one for me, but I think because that plot point is in my head and I'm struggling to get around it, that's what's going to go against you. I do think your choice was actually very, very strong, though. And I think if Greg had picked someone that I didn't like for that role, it would have been an easy one for me to go past and to look past that. But because they're both very similar in acting ability, I think that is what I will go with. So I will give it to Greg and he'll continue on. So
Now I'll
he'll
take over now.
yeah, he'll continue on into 2 weeks from now, so he can keep the film he has listed, and you'll have to let us know, Carl.
The film I had was absolutely horrid to try and.
Well, you can keep it. You know, you can keep it there. We'll see what Carl has.
To give you this, I'm going to give you a little bit of a movie trivia question. See if you can guess it.
Okay.
This is Elizabeth Taylor's, the legendary Elizabeth Taylor's last ever film.
Bedazzled.
No, you're thinking of the 30. Elizabeth Taylor's last ever film.
Let me just see. I'll see a picture of her. I know who the name is. I just can't picture
her last film.
Her last ever film. This is the one they're going to be recasting. I'll give you another 5 seconds.
Breakfast at Tiffany's, is it?
No, sure. Definitely not Breakfast at Tiffany's.
We're staying in 1994. It's the Flintstones.
Oh, okay. Okay. Another film of questionable quality.
Oh yeah.
But one that I do have a lot of love for. Is that her last film?
Last ever film, yeah.
Wow.
I know, right?
That's a nosedive off a cliff for her.
Jesus, that's a bad one to end on, isn't it?
She plays Wilma's mother.
Oh, Jesus, that's a bad old one to end on for her. But yeah, that's fair enough. The Flintstones. So that'll be what we come in with in 2 weeks. We'll sort out which exact characters we're going to be casting off air, and we shall see you again all in 2 weeks. Good luck.
Shalom.